All right, this is our introduction to a concept of economics called elasticity. We'll spend some time with it. But the first question you want to ask yourself is, does the shape of a supply or demand curve matter? The short answer to that is yes. The longer answer to that is what we'll be studying. The easy way to think about it is in looking at a demand curve. If you've got a situation, let's imagine these numbers are exactly the same. You have a demand curve that is fairly vertical as opposed to a demand curve that is fairly horizontal. You start with the price at P1, that's roughly the same. The idea would be exactly the same at both. Comes over, hits the demand curve, you have a quantity 1. Comes over, hits the demand curve, you have a quantity 1. With an unbelievably vertical demand curve, if the price falls to P2, there's not much of a change in quantity. But in a very horizontal demand curve, price falls the same level. Look at the change from Q1 to Q2. That goes the other way. If you raise price, from P2 to P1, the loss in quantity is dramatic with a demand curve that is much more horizontal, as opposed to one that's much more vertical. If you raise the price from P2 to P1, quantity 2 only goes down to quantity 1. Elasticity as a concept, and you're going to hear me say this a lot, measures the responsiveness of a change in one variable on another. The one we're going to focus on first is called the price elasticity of demand. So we're looking at how much does a price change impact overall quantity demanded. Why is this important? It's important for a number of reasons, but the biggest one is if you are somebody that owns a product, you're concerned with your revenue. Revenue is simply price times the quantity that's sold. And so if you very briefly look up to this, the shape of your demand curve is going to mean a lot to your company. If I am here with a vertical demand curve, I know that if I raise my price, I'm not going to lose that much in terms of quantity sold. My revenue will go up dramatically. Vertical demand curves are what are called inelastic. You can think of some products that are inelastic are usually addictive. It could be something like that. Coffee is a good example where people are going to purchase it sometimes regardless of price. Compare that to a much more horizontal demand curve where we're concerned about total revenue. If we started at P2, you'd have P2 times Q2, that equals your total revenue. Now raise your price a little bit, you see this dramatic decrease in quantity. Your revenue is going to go down dramatically with a much more horizontal demand curve, which we think of, and I'll do this a lot, elastic, that's the term for it. Inelastic, elastic, and it works opposite. If you lower your price, and you have an inelastic demand curve, you will see your total revenue go down. If you lower your price, but you have an elastic demand curve, you will see your total revenue go up. We'll be going over in great detail later what types of products are elastic and inelastic, as well as looking at other types of elasticity, some that impact supply, or at least one that impacts supply, and others that also impact the demand curve. Thank you for listening.